Again, my name is Tim Ross, president of the Mudlick Mail Company. We appreciate you guys coming aboard today. This is our third webinar in our series. This is the very first time that I have had the pleasure of having Greg sitting right next to me during this webinar. How you doing today,
You're
Greg?
a lucky guy.
I am lucky. We are, for those of you who missed it earlier, we are going to be videotaping this. So you'll be a live videotape of the webinar. We'll be able to see Greg and I. You'll be able to see the PowerPoint presentation. So again, ways for us to help try to make this as much as interactive as we possibly can. And so with that being said, there are a lot of folks that are coming on board, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be talking about don't manage your business based on 5%. And this topic actually came up during a conversation Greg and I were having, because we always talk about, hey, how's our customers doing? What are the issues they're having out there? What are the concerns they're having? And in that discussion came up with this topic of don't manage your business based on 5%. And so what I've asked Greg to do is we went through and kind of put together a little outline on what that entails. And we're going to start off in our first slide. And as you can see as the header, it's going to talk about what drives owners to make changes in their business. And one of the biggest changes they start with, Greg, is customer feedback. And so can you elaborate a little bit on customer feedback and how you've seen that affect owners and their decision-making process?
Sure. Well, this is probably what I spend the most amount of my time when I talk to shop owners is, a shop owner will get some information, feedback, customers in particular, because that's what really scares people. And the first thing they do is, they'll get a couple complaints, and a customer will tell them how bad they are. And the first thing they do is they want to make a big change in their business. And so, what I tell people to do is always stop before you make a change. Always ask yourself, is that complaint isolated or is it reoccurring? And we get this a lot. I get it every day with different shop owners, which is, if it's isolated, if you see 400 cars in your shop and, you get 3 complaints that says your price is too high, that's not a reason to run out and change your pricing. Or somebody may say, you screwed up my car, I have the same problem. Well, that's not a reason to wholesale, whether you fire somebody. A lot of the things that I see happens when shops is they want to radically change their concept. They want to make it more complicated because they're so afraid that these 3 complaints have dominated their whole month. So if we can move to the next one. So here's the type of complaints that people make, or the changes that people make that we end up having to go back and fix. One of those is labor rate. They'll hear, well, your price is too high based on your labor. And what's caused that is, some customer called and asked what their labor rate was, and when they told them it's $90 or $80, whatever it is, somebody said it was too high. Well, I had that problem in the past, and one thing that I've noticed when somebody calls you and complains about or asks you what your labor rate is, that's almost always a competitor. Nobody calls and asks what the price of what your labor rate is. They always ask how much is it to fix something. So, the last thing you want to do is make a decision based on that. And then parts markup. If you take these complaints and look at how they start, typically somebody complains about price after the fact. Meaning, hey, here's how a complaint kind of runs down, and see if this makes sense to you. A customer calls and says they've done the repairs. They call and say, you know what? I brought my car home and it's doing the very same thing. And by the way, I called around and your price is a lot higher than everyone else's. So if you analyze that complaint, is it really that you're too high, or is it that you didn't fix the car right? So diagnosing the complaint is one of the problems. What we've found over and over again is it's not the price that's the problem. It's that maybe we didn't fix the car right. Maybe we didn't fix it on time. Maybe the manager didn't update them during the process of the sale. But what do? We go out and we cut our price thinking that, oh, we're higher than Joe Bob's down the street. And so this is just what I see driving a lot of shop owners is they make these decisions that really are less than 5% of their customers, 5% of their business, and they make these wholesale changes without regard to the other, 309 or 397 customers that came in that shop that were perfectly happy. So that's
Right, Greg, we hear a lot, the complaints that they make from customers, and we make these changes. These guys also seem to get a lot of feedback from their staff. It's like, especially you get the technicians in the back, and some of us have been technicians and can really understand this, and some of them who've run a front counter or or own the business. We get so much feedback from our staff. We've talked many times about being held hostage by staff members. Telling us, hey, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. It's going to impact your business, and then we get this overwhelming obligation to feel like we have to make a change because we don't want to lose the business and we don't want to lose our staff members. Can you go into some little bit of detail now if we flip the screen here and go into some staff feedback on things that come up?
Well, the poor shop owner has no chance. One, he gets beat up with customers. Now, beat up means he might get 3 or 4 complaints in a month. And then, if that isn't enough, he goes back to the back and he gets punched in the face by the technicians or the managers that tell him, we were told that our labor rate's really too high. If we would cut our labor rate, we could sure sell a lot more jobs. And over the course of a month, they might be able to cite for you. And employees are great about this. They'll remember when they didn't sell a job because it was $50 higher than the guy down the street. But they tend to, again, forget the other 300 jobs that were sold that no one complained. So do you change your price based on, that one complaint or that one time a manager couldn't sell the ticket? Or do you stick to the price or raise your price based on the fact that the vast majority of your people are happy? So the things that I see come back to the shop owners is that our labor rate's too high or our parts markup is too high. If you'd cut your parts markup, we could sell more tickets. And probably the biggest issue that will dramatically impact business out there in these shops, especially over the next 5 to 10 years, and that is timing issues. Being able to get jobs done fast enough, like oil changes, being able to say, well, look, I don't have time to get to that oil change. So they turn away the customer versus making that time for that customer or making time for that oil change or those problems. That's what's going to change your business.
Well, and I know we talk a little bit about it. It's a little bit of a off the beaten path a bit, but I get a lot of customers that call us and say, "Man, I can't get my staff to say yes. I can't get them to change the way they've always thought about how we do business, who we do business with." And so I know that we go into detail with Mudstock and some other trainings, but can you allude a little bit to how the staff training is going to be a critical part in kind of overcoming some of the staff feedback issues?
Well, it's funny. I was in Oklahoma a week ago, and I went and visited a shop there, a really nice shop. But and I said, well, how's that ad working for you? And he said, man, we hate this one coupon. And that he was pointing to the oil change coupon. And I said, why? He said, man, we get a ton of those things. I said, well, stop right there. Who doesn't like this ad? And he said, well, the managers at the front counter, man, they hate them. Well, and you go along with that? He said, well, yeah, man, we get hit with those things. Well, I told him straight up. I said, you as an owner better love that ad. How that's your new customers. That's the people that are going to build your business tomorrow and the next day. And since when is running a shop, like a
Broke car only?
Well, you don't. You got to make decisions as an owner.
Oh,
You know,
democracy.
it can't be a democracy. And so when you're asking employees, hey, should we do this? Well, they're always going to go to what's easiest. You know, as an owner, you have to make decisions based on what's in the best long-term interest of your shop. And so by the time I got done and I explained to him and educated him on why that coupon was the best coupon that you were doing. He had a discount on brakes. I said, let me tell you, how many brakes did you get on that ad? And he goes, not very many. And I said, well, if you take a whole neighborhood and you think about it, in any given time, how many people actually need a brake job or know they need a brake job in an entire neighborhood? Well, it's very rare. Versus an oil change, people need those every 3 months. So you constantly have a stream of people that need those. And in this day and age, you know, car owners they don't want to go to 3 different shops to get the repairs done. They don't want to go to an oil change place, go to a brake place. You got to be a place where they can bring their car to get it taken care of. And so, you know, with staff feedback, sometimes it's good to get feedback on how can we make things faster, better, but not on things like what are we going to advertise, what are our hours of operation, what are we going to charge for our labor. That's an owner decision. That is something that the owner has to make. And I've just seen this issue come up over and over again where the owner doesn't quite understand that relationship with his employees. So,
well, and you know, and we're gonna, for those of you who can really relate to that, we're gonna talk a little bit more about fear, which is the next topic that we're gonna move into as Ryan rolls the slides. Again, just as a reminder, again, Tim Ross over at Mudlick Mail here with Greg Sands, CEO. I kind of forgot at the beginning, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. You know, for those of you who don't know Greg, he's been in the auto repair business for over 19 years. Currently owns over 20 stores in 3 states. We have 10 located in Atlanta, Georgia. We have 6 in Houston, Texas, soon to be 7. And then there's 3 service streets, the newest brand for him, 2 in Colorado and 1 in Georgia. And so Greg has sold over close to $500 million in auto repair business over the last 19 years. And so a lot of the principles, the things that you're hearing about right now are things that we actively have dealt with or are dealing with in our shops right now between Greg and his partners. And so this is real life information for you. So our goal for these webinars is to really give you guys really solid information that you can literally work and use when you get off the phone. So again, today's webinar topic is don't manage your business based on the 5%. And so we've talked about customer feedback. We've talked about making changes that are made by staff feedback. And so the next thing I want to talk about, Greg, is fear. Because this is probably one of the most hot topics that comes up in my days with owners all over the country that we talk to, is fear. They make changes based on fear. Can you talk a little bit about that?
well, you kind of mean like the fear I have of being on a webinar.
With me.
Something like that, yeah. With a bunch of shop owners listening. That's fear. Well, you know, fear as a driver, which we all have it. And, you know, my worst decisions have been made more out of paranoia and fear than anything. And in our business, it does run rampant with shop owners. Probably one of the strengths of shop owners is that we have this paranoia, we have this fear, but it's also one of the biggest weaknesses because it makes you make decisions that we don't know are really fact-based. And that's one of the probably the worst things that you can do is not step back long enough. Remember when I said isolate, is it isolated or reoccurring? If you really take that approach whenever you make a decision, it'll really help you. Because I have found so many times when I have a perception of something, I go, you know, I think this is the case. 9 times out of 10, when I really dig back and pull back the layers, I find out that it's not really true. And so some of the things that we see that is simply fear is a lot of shops, and probably for good reason because they're told this by trainers around the country, which is, you know, I'm just going to be open Monday through Friday, close on the weekends. Now, what's ironic about that is when are our customers working? They're working Monday through Friday and they're off the weekend. So we're doing the polar opposite of what our shops or what our customers are saying they want. Our busiest day of the week in our 20 locations is Saturday, hands down. Now I can go either way on Sunday. Some of our stores are open on Sunday, some are not. I can at least say, well, at least Sundays you can't get parts that easily, but I still think there's a lot of value to being open. But to not be open on Saturday, if you just started there, you know, when I ask people, why would you not be? I'd do 20,000 less or more a store if I was closed on Saturdays. And the first thing I hear is, well, my technicians will quit. Well, okay, your current technician may quit, but again, if that's the reason why you're not open on Saturday, then who really runs that shop? It's sure as hell not you. It's that technician in the back that is deciding for you what your hours of operation are. So as an owner, you have to always ask yourself, is opening on Saturdays in my best interest? If it is, now I will tell you, out of 20 stores in 3 different markets, and not just mine, you can then add, there's probably a couple of hundred other shops that are open on Saturday that were affiliated. We have a lot of shops that aren't open on Saturday, not that I own, but and those shops will tell you almost across the board that Saturday's their busiest day of the week. So if you just applied that same methodology, I'm from Oklahoma, so I might not be able to say that too well. But if you apply that same principle or thought, maybe that's easier for me to say. Those big words screw me up there. Then you would have to say, wow, what if I could add, you know, if you normally do $3,000 a day in sales, if you added $4,000 on a Saturday that you're normally closed, you know, and you're open, you know, typically 4 or 5 Saturdays a month. What does that? How much money does that put in the bank for you? Is that extra $100,000 a year worth the pain of being able to get open on Saturdays? Now, if you're going to be open on Saturdays, don't waste your time with a half day, because you might as well be closed. Don't waste your time with a half staff. Either go in and do it or don't do it. And we've got ways that we can talk about. If you call in later or you come to Mudstock 2010, we go into this in depth about how to hire and train people and set expectations. But I see that, you know, the reason why people aren't open on Saturdays is the fear of technicians quitting. And then this even crazier, and I hope you guys aren't asleep yet, because this is probably the biggest life changer for me when I expanded my hours. When I ask an owner, well, why don't you open on Saturdays? His response is, typically his response, if it's not, I'm afraid my technician will quit, it's, I don't want to work Saturdays. And I'm like, well, did it ever occur to you maybe you could hire a manager that you wouldn't have to work Saturdays, that you could be at the lake and have somebody open the store and work the store while you're off? And guess what? Let's say you make $100,000 a year extra on just being open on Saturdays, and you can run your own numbers, it may be more than that. You could hire a manager that could help you the other 3 or 4 days a week, pay him $50,000 a year, and he works for you 5 days a week, and one of those days is he handles Saturday, and you still put $50,000 in your pocket, and you protected yourself from your competitors, who eventually people will come in and open up on Saturdays. If you're open on Sunday or Saturdays, I'd encourage you to look at the same theory for Sundays, if you're really wanting to maximize your store. Now, I know most people don't want to do that, so I won't press it, but you know, in my world, I will tell you, I do like to maximize the stores that I'm on. Now, some of the stores that I don't have open on Saturday, what I've done is Sundays, I've opened them longer hours during the week. So those stores still have to be open the same number of hours as my other stores that are open on Sunday. So I'm still getting the most for my money. I could do better, but I think I'm getting as much out of the stores that it's open on Saturday, or that's open on Sunday, that's open on Saturday. So it's just something to think about. This other issue of fear is paying technicians, you know, not paying technicians flat rate. You know, I'm still shocked that there's a large number of shops out there that pay based on salary or pay based on a guarantee. And that's been one of the toughest deals that I've seen out there. Is that it's hard to make money. Now I will tell you, I've tried both to see if it would work, and I couldn't manage it. You know, we've had just the opposite. I think you talked to a shop owner today. I know that Ryan has here at Mudlick Mail that talked about people that went away from the salary and into more flat rate. And I think there's a lot of great stories out there. We have a bunch of them. What was the who?
You know, Bill Davis over, I don't know if Bill's on the line here, owns a few shops up in the Northwest. And Bill was at a event here recently, and at that event, he kind of learned about not only saying yes to customers, but also one of the focus was, you know, getting his costs in place where he would be able to pay these guys on a flat rate. So what Bill did recently, I just had a conversation with him today, is, you know, Bill has moved these guys to flat rate, and he said, Tim, I cannot believe the increased productivity of my technicians since I did that. And I was also able to show them that they could actually work the same amount of hours, but based on flat rate, they can make more money. And so that got them really excited.
Yeah. You know, we had a question come in. This is really cool technology because I can see the questions now. And the question was that this is Christy Modesti. Is that how you say that?
Uh-huh.
And I don't have that good eyesight, so I'll have to read it because I can't read that far away. But
yeah, and Christy's question talked about, you know, in the past, and this is very true for a lot of people, is that stores in the past have been counseled not to be open on Saturday. That if they were open on Saturday, all that would do would be to spread their business out over 6 days versus 5 days.
yeah, well, I am working currently right now. I'm working on a series, and this is a series of, I guess you could say, webinar slash videos, and it's the title of that is Myths, Misunderstandings, and Lies of the Auto Repair Business, because that is one of those lies that the data does not back it up, and all you have to do is, well, if you're closed on Saturdays, if you open on Saturdays and you consistently advertise that you're open, you know, the first few weeks that you open, you're going to get a few customers because you've trained your customers that you're not open on Saturday. You've trained a lot of people that won't come to you because you're closed on Saturday. There's a lot of people that come to my shops because I'm open on Saturday. So it doesn't stand to reason that, you know, your current customers are only going to spread out over a 5 or 6 day period, a 5 day versus a 6 day period. How does that explain people that are off on Saturdays versus the week, during the week? A lot of people ask me when I go into a new area to do business, and they say, well, how do you build your business so fast? And I say, well, it's really easy. If I go into a market, shops typically are closed on Saturday or half a day on Saturday. If a potential customer, car breaks down or they need work done during the normal hours of that other shop, they're going to go to that other shop. Where I pick up those customers is when that shop is closed and they're not available. So those customers will come to me on Saturday. Well, when they try us and we explain the features and benefits of using us versus that shop that's closed all the time, that we tend to win those customers over. So I would tell you, you know, to talk to anyone that's open on Saturdays, and I don't think you'd find anyone that would agree with that statement that, boy, that's just spreading out sales over the 6th day. And by the way, let me make one other point on that subject, because this is why I'm working on this series. You know, there's a lot of people out there making money off of training or giving advice. And there's some good people out there. But the ones that scare me are the ones that are saying what you want to hear. Only work 20 hours a week, and, you know, you're going to be blown out, or you're going to make a fortune, or, you know, close on the weekends. Well, they're telling you that because the truth is they think you're too dumb to hire people. They don't think you can manage more than 5 days a week. That's what they're really saying behind your back. It makes no sense. Why doesn't all the retailers in America close on the weekends? Why would the restaurants be open on Saturday and Sunday? Wouldn't they get all their same business Monday through Friday? Or is our business just so unusual that, boy, we're just in something that's never heard of? So people just, of course they're not going to come in on the weekends when it's convenient. They're going to go out of their way and take a day off to come in during the week. It's not practical. It's being sold a bill of goods, and it gets me fired up. Those are the things that I hate to hear, because think of the money that you've lost being closed on Saturdays.
And Christy, that's a great question, and I get that question all the time, guys. And so now there is a strategy for opening on the weekends that we can go in detail down the road. So I would encourage you guys, if you have some questions, continue to raise your hand or email them over to Ryan so that we can take a look at them. One of the additional questions that came in talks about
Well, it's you've been told that the weekend hours only attract do-it-yourselfers type. That was what that want free advice. Well, then that would, I tell you what goes against that is that our average Saturday is literally our number one day of the week, and I think there's probably a host of people on here that would say the same thing. It's not the do-it-yourselfers on Saturday at all. You got the people who are blown out, like our family, or probably a lot of your families. That's your 1 or 2 days off. That of course that's when you're going to take your car in to get it fixed. If given a choice, if you were to even ask, if you were even to ask yourself, when you do your work, when you go to do something, would you take off work to do it, or if it could be done on your day off, you're going to do it? It's just logical. I know there's another question.
And the follow-up to that, Greg, is how do you, and this is a great question too, Nick. This is a question we get a lot as well. How do you structure your front counter? How do you structure your staff on a 6-day week? And I'll let Greg give you a little a few details on how he does the whole week, and he can elaborate a little bit.
Well, we always start with Saturday. Everybody works Saturday. That's our busiest day of the week. It's probably the opposite of what you guys have been told. But then we work backwards. Yeah, 6 days a week for everybody but American Service Station. American Service Stations, we're open 7 days a week. Now, we have one manager on the 7-day-a-week program. We have one manager on Sunday. We have 2 all during the week and 3 on Saturday. Our total managers, including the general manager, is 3 people at the front counter. Now, every shop has 4 to 5 technicians. That way the technicians can have their days off. The technicians rotate weekends. So now on Saturdays, though, everybody works Saturday. There are technicians that'll say, well, I'll never work Saturdays. Well, those just aren't our technicians. But right now, with 20 locations, we have no openings for technicians. So it goes against the theory that you can't have good technicians on the weekend. Because a technician cares about making money. And if they see that, wow, I can flag 25 hours on a Saturday, I'll take that. What we've seen, and I guess this is probably the opposite of people who actually own shops and people giving advice out there. Because we own shops, and you can look on our website, see the shops that I own, and call the stores and see I'm open. If I thought that was true, I'd be closed. That's a big advantage. Versus people giving advice out there, they don't own shops. And so they of course are going to say be closed on Saturday or Sunday. There are some good shops out there that do really well that are closed on the weekends. I will tell you that in a heartbeat. They would do even better if they were open on the weekends. A lot of those, when you break down their locations, they have limited competition, or they've been in business for 30 plus years, and they have built a really good reputation. If you're one of those people, you can probably stay with being closed on Saturdays. If you're happy with your income, you could probably stay. But eventually, somebody with better hours, it's the American way, it's capitalism, somebody with my type of hours are going to move into your area, they're going to compete against you, they're going to market, and they're going to take that business over time. Not all of it, but they'll take just enough that it will hurt you. Our job is to protect our clients and make it hard for competitors to come in and compete against you. Put the pressure on the guy down the street. Don't make it easy for him. So I know it's a touchy subject for some people, and everybody has to make their own choice. If everything we said on these webinars you agreed with, you wouldn't need to be on here. But I would just ask you to think about it. Maybe we can give you some references to people that are open on Saturdays that could tell you, if we talk to them or you talk to them, ask them what would happen if they closed on Saturday. They would probably go from making really good money to breaking even or losing a little bit of money every month, which is what I'm seeing out there with a lot of guys that don't open the weekends. You know, there's a
Well,
couple of other things, and I'll jump into these. Employee benefits. You know, it's not normal for small businesses to pay 100% of benefits. Like, for example, holiday pay, 100% medical expenses. You know, we've kind of went back and forth on this over the years to see what has really helped with turnover. We have enough people out there that own shops that we can compare their turnover to ours. And you take the guys who pay for holiday pay. And this is just as one example, and what we've looked at, there's people that will pay for, if you're closed on Easter, they'll pay all their employees for Easter, even though they're closed. They'll pay 100% for Christmas. Now, we're closed on these holidays, but they're unpaid holidays. But we lined up theirs compared to ours. There was nobody out there that had any better unemployment or turnover than anybody else. In other words, you couldn't put all the names up there, look at the turnover, and go, "Wow, that guy is doing great," and it's because he's paying all these holiday pays and 100% benefits. And as an owner, you always have to ask yourself, why are you doing these things? If it's to lower your turnover, well, then that's not the reason to do it. If it's just because you're a nice guy, well, then you're a nice guy. But it's not realistic for you to be. If you can't afford it, well, it's because you shouldn't be able to afford it. You're a small business person. And so the benefit side of it is something that we've convinced people over time to kind of phase out. Those people, none of them had a problem. It's a lot easier than open on Saturdays, and it does save you quite a bit of money. You just slowly start having employees pay a little bit of their benefits. Holidays, you just say, hey, after this year, we have to go away from holiday pay because we want to keep our prices in check. So you kind of work from what some of the staff has told you that, well, if your prices are too high, you can't sell enough. Well, you don't want to raise your prices, so let's just go away from holiday pay. And then the other one that drives me crazy. We have offered a 3-year, 36,000 mile nationwide warranty for the last 7 or 8 years. Now, we tell our clients, you need to change to a 3-year, 36,000 mile. Fear drives clients not to do it. Now, why would I do it? Well, we again run studies and found out that let's take the last year, we were having a hard time finding a single repair that fell in the 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty claim in the 3rd year. It just doesn't happen. Now, you might be saying, oh my gosh, I don't want to do these repairs and then have a whole bunch of people coming back after year 1 and I can't get it covered. It doesn't happen. So it's a great benefit, and there's a lot of people out there now doing it that's part of our Mudlick Mail team, that's clients out there. And if you need people, this doesn't cost, we don't benefit from it, we're trying to help you. So if you say, I'd like to do that, I'm just scared, well, let's put you in touch with other shop owners that have changed their warranty. Because here's what happens. If you can show value to a customer, if you can show them that, look, we're offering a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty where the dealer's only 12 month, 12,000 mile warranty, man, our prices are worth what we're selling repairs for. It is one of the best sales tools that you can give your front counter. It's so powerful when you're selling a $1,500 job, and it's a good benefit to the customer. And as long as you're using good parts, well, even if you're using bad parts, which I wouldn't recommend, those bad parts are going to fail within a matter of the first 90 days. It's very rare that those parts are going to fail in the 2nd and 3rd year. And then it's not transferable. So they sell their car, the warranty goes away. So as long as they keep their car, they get it, but it just doesn't happen. So anyway, that's a fear thing that I've not done a good job explaining that to where people go, man, we need to just, I think anybody that's out there that owns a shop really ought to be on that.
And guys, this comes up a lot as well. If you attended last year's Mudstock, 2009, you learned a lot about this. I encourage you, for those who have some interest in some of these concepts and these simple techniques you're hearing, you can go to the News and Events tab on the website and look up our Mudstock and Growth and Strategy programs that are going to be happening. We do it once a year, And it's going to cover all this information a lot of this information you're hearing now, you're going to hear in a little bit greater detail at these programs. But some of these, if you can just take a few of these points and implement them into your business, not all of them at once, but just a couple, especially the 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty, prorated nationwide warranty, that is a major differentiating factor of your business to your competitors. So, again, moving forward, this is Tim Ross sitting here with my CEO, Greg Sands, with Mudlick Mail. We're here with our webinar focusing on not managing our business based on 5% of our customers. We've talked about customer feedback and staff feedback. We're talking a little bit about fear, and there's some other things about fear that we're going to touch on a little bit that can impact a business from an owner standpoint. And Greg, let's talk about these 3 items.
Well, the first one is it's a little bit. I don't think this is 100% unanimous. I think most people believe the way I do, which is there's a lot of value in a customer shuttle. But there are shop owners out there that like the customer to wait for whatever reason. They feel like that's, I don't know, it's easier to sell them if they're waiting. My experience has been the opposite. If I can give that customer a shuttle ride home, that allows me time to really inspect their car. It also allows me to time manage my day where, if that customer doesn't need their car back in the next 2 hours, it allows me to really work on other cars because I know this car I can get done by the time we close that night. PMI broke cars, or PMI really across the board, especially when we do our direct mail coupons. On our oil change, we have an oil change get acquainted offer. It's a $19.95. It's anywhere from $15 to $28.95 depending on your market. And I've had shop owners say, well, we like to just kind of do the oil change and not really try to oversell the customer. And I said, well, that's good, that's respectable, but that coupon says it's a 21-point inspection. Out of that 21-point inspection, what if you decided not to do the oil change? Would that be okay? I mean, which system did you not check that you claimed you would? See, that's an integrity problem. And it actually costs you money. So the customer brings you this coupon and they want their car checked out, and you do the oil change, but then you don't check out the car. And that seems to be okay because you've judged the customer to say, I don't want to oversell the customer. Now, I agree that you don't want to just slam a customer with $2,000 on an oil change. What you want to do, though, is check out their car and you prioritize any repairs that you find. Some things might need addressed today, which are more safety items. Some things may not need to be addressed today, like maintenance items, if it's not immediate concern. And then you have cosmetic, which are, whenever they've got the extra money to do that. So we like to check out the car and check it off the list the way it reads on the coupon. And then you have the things what a lot of people in the industry know, which are B-backs. B-backs are customers that when you do check out the car, they say they'll be back, and so we call them B-backs. You want a lot of B-backs out on the street. There isn't a day that goes by that we don't have B-backs coming back into the store. And I know a lot of shop owners out there that's on this call today are the same way because I've been in their shops where people are bringing back those estimates. So you want to at least put the bug in the customer's ear that, hey, this needs to be done. They may bring it back on Friday. Well, if you don't write it up, they don't know that it needs it. So it's just common sense. But it's that fear that, I'm going to oversell the customer. Well, overselling the customer is where you're just saying you got to do all $1,500 today and it's not really necessary and you're just beating the hell out of them. That's far different than, if it's a safety concern, you definitely want to sell that hard. If it's a maintenance concern, you just want to tell them what happens if you don't fix it. There are some maintenance items that can leave them on the side of the road. There's other maintenance items that can be a nuisance. So it's just, letting fear drive you to make a decision for a customer is a big mistake. And then finally on staffing, and we cover staffing a lot at Mudstock. We did last year. This year we're doing a whole series there, or a whole program on it with some of my best guys on just staffing. Because one of the hardest things to overcome is how do you add a technician? If I add a technician, my good technician's going to quit. And that's a whole subject on that. But the fear is always the same way. Of course, if you're only open 5 days a week, again, think about this. Shops that are open 5 days a week, one of the reasons to be closed on the weekend is so they can hire better technicians. But we have not seen that consistently across the board. You probably can't say that if you have 3 technicians, that all 3 of your technicians are really good. Some shops can, but if you were to take a sampling, you'd find out that most shops have 1 really good technician, then 1 technician that's not as good, maybe a C or a B, and then 1 that's horrible, that shouldn't be there if they even have 3 technicians. So I haven't seen that that's the case, but if you're open on Saturdays, it does allow you to have more technicians that can work throughout the week. So it's just, I know it's hard to buy and I'm not overly pushing Saturdays, I'm just telling you what we do. But the fear of hiring a technician or a service writer, it really limits your upside on your sales. If you're not willing to step up and add a technician, chances are you're not going to get any more sales out of the technicians that you have. Some people say, well, there's a lot of time when my technicians aren't busy. That's not what I'm saying. Technicians, and you guys tell me if this is true, technicians have their nut that they need to meet every week. There's technicians that need to flag 50 hours a week. There's technicians that need to flag 25 hours a week and 30 hours, whatever the number is. And that's their nut, not yours. So what you tend to see with a technician, if they're behind on hours, man, they hit it hard the last couple of days to hit their hours. If they're way over on hours, well, then they start coasting. That's when they got to go get a big Slurpee down the street because they got plenty of time on their hands. And so what we have found is that, it's not that there's free time, is that you're limited by the number of hours that technician truly wants to bill each week. And he may tell you he wants more, but his track record, if you went back over the last year or 2, you'll see it's very consistent how many hours each technician flags.
And Greg, going back, I'll go back to the technicians that Greg talked about as hiring staff members. Is that, Greg talked earlier about it's harder to hire on those extra technicians if you're not paying them by flat rate. If you're paying guarantees and you're paying salaries to these guys, see, that just makes the problem that much more complicated. So, one of the things we always try to teach and talk about is that a lot of these things are all interrelated. How you hire and staff and how you sell and the type of people technicians you have. All the processes and systems that we do are interconnected. There's nothing that's kind of on its own. And so those are some great topics to talk about. Now we had a general question that I'll address talks about shop software,
mm-hmm.
And what are the different shop softwares? What you've used several while you've had multiple shops.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you like to use?
Well, I like RO Rider, that's what I use, but Mitchell's just as good. Nowadays, a lot of them are good. So I'm not sure that answers the question, but we use on RO Rider, the Activent that looks up all the parts. It's great, way better technology than I had when I ran a store. It's by light years. It makes it so fast, it's easy. But we also use some manual things that really help us run a store. We use what's called the board, which if you don't know what that is, I'll give you a brief explanation. We still use them in our shops today. It's one of our biggest secrets to driving really the most in sales out of a shop. We've always been consistent with this, and that is, even though you can do it in the computer, I just think there's a difference between what's on a computer screen, and maybe it's just me, I'm old, but I like the board where they come in. They still put it in the computer, but I have a tracking system, and it's manual, and you can get a copy from us if you'd like. Just contact the Mudlick Mail, whoever your account rep is, and they'll get you a copy of it where you can see. But probably just getting a copy of it doesn't do it justice. Most people, when they get one, they don't use it. But if we can explain how to use it, and maybe we need to do a webinar on that sometime, but it's really the way we track from the time a customer comes in until they leave. We just find that manual system there is just the best, and so we've just always used it.
Yeah, and for those of you just tuning in to the Learning Center on our website at mudlickmail.com. If you go through there, there is the sample copy of what the board looks like, and so that'll give you a good heads up. One of the last, another question we got, Greg, is are there certain special benefits that are commonly offered to technicians? I mean, is there anything unique that you do?
Absolutely not. I tried. You wouldn't even believe. I tried. Well, no, that's okay. The only benefit that I have is that if they flag over 100 hours for a pay period, they get $2 an hour more for every hour they flag over that. And the technicians love that, but you have to be a really good technician to do that consistently. But I have learned that the best technicians are interested in one thing, and that is a lot of cars where they can flag all the hours that they want. You can do everything. You can take them out to dinner. You can, tell them how great they look every day. You can, you go rub their back if you're Tim. I don't know, but if you can't sell service and you can't get their paycheck where it needs to be, they're going to hate you. You have to be focused on what drives sales, what drives good sales into your shop. And the other benefits, I've lost technicians that I've made special deals with just because sometimes you just can't make them happy. Keep them busy, they'll be happy.
Well, very good. Well, switching to the next slide, we're going to talk about our last topic. It's perceptions based on your market. And these are changes people make simply because they have this perception of what's going on in the market. And so when you flip the page, again, you'll start to talk about some real specific items that come to mind, Greg. And let's talk about the four that the folks are seeing on the screen right now.
Well, and you can kind of take the first two, and this is from being in shops. I've been in over 70 shops this year already. And one of the things that surprises me is how insecure shop owners can be, and I'm the same way. They'll start getting all lathered up about what their competitors' prices are. And they'll actually think that if they're $10 cheaper for an alignment, the general public is just going to flood in their front doors to get alignments done, and that's just not the case. And also, their reputation. This is baffling to me because it's the only industry that I know of that's like this. But shop owners tend to think there's always somebody else in their neighborhood or somebody in that area that they feel has as good of a reputation or better reputation than they do. And it is a weird phenomenon, and I'll tell you what drives it. Shop owners care so much about their customers, and you rarely find a shop owner that really, really doesn't care. I mean, shop owners are almost fanatic about it, and it's kind of funny. I get to talk to so many shop owners, and they all think that they're different. They're special. Well, it isn't. Shop owners really want to have a good reputation. They want to do a good job. And man, when they get a complaint, it rocks their world. It's crazy. So when they get one or two complaints, and complaints in our world are always ugly. You have some psycho that's threatened to sue you or, parade, picket your store, whatever it's got to be. Before they even ask you to help them, they're already threatening you. And they tell you how high you are, and they've talked to neighbors, and every neighbor hates you. Basically, everyone in the world hates your guts, including me. And so you start to think, oh my God, it's me. It's my store. I'm bad. That guy down the street, Bob's Automotive, is killing me. I mean, and then a technician comes back and says, man, I went by Bob's, and he was blown out. We only have 3 cars in here. That's the stuff that it's not real. That is a perception. Those are the type of perceptions that can really drive you crazy and drive you to make really bad decisions. So that's the 2 items that I would put together on the economy, and I hear this all the time. Now, this is literally our best year ever. Now, last year was our best year before this. I'm not unusual there because a lot of our clients will tell you the same thing. If you're not having the best year you've ever had, you probably need to look in the mirror and ask yourself, have you fallen prey? Have you fallen victim to the economy? Meaning, have you bought in that the economy's so bad and not bought in that, hey, this is the best time there's ever been for the automotive business? We have less dealers to compete against. The dealers don't even have the money to compete against us the way they used to. we have unemployment that's 10% or more in a lot of places, so there's plenty of good people to hire for the front counter. That used to never be an option. There's less people advertising out there. If we advertise, if we're consistent, now our postcards get more viewership than ever before. It has never been a better time to be in this business, but in the economy. You have people go, well, Greg, man, our economy's doing terrible. Well, as long as they're not selling record number of new cars, this economy's great. Do you know that right now, today, the cars on the road are older than they've ever been in the history of cars? I mean, that's exciting to know that we're in a business where we happen to fix broke cars, old cars, used cars. That's what we do, and there's never been more of them on the road than right now. A lot of people are still upside down on their cars. They can't afford to just get rid of their cars. Cars were built better over the last 5 years, so they tend to keep them longer. So there's just a lot of things going our way. And the final one, because I don't want to go over, is the excuse, if it's not the economy, it's the excuse of the holidays. The perception is right after Christmas is what? The people are paying off Christmas. And then in April, they're paying off taxes. And in the summer, people are on vacation. And in the summer, they're paying for their kids to go back to school. And then it's Thanksgiving, and they're buying Christmas presents. You got to get out of that cycle where we're constantly making excuses for ourselves to be down, or for us not to be doing that well, or for us to not make money, because that cycle is every single year. It will always be the same. So, if we can go to the summary, because I think this is, I really hope that this helps people out there, but the summary really kind of says it all. And Tim, you can go through it.
Well, and I think that hopefully you guys have gotten a lot of these points touched on. One of the last things, Greg, I wanted to touch on too real quick is it was one of the questions we kind of got is internet. And bad things being on the internet about you.
Yeah.
I mean, you sell. How many cars do you do a month?
Well, we do about 85. No, more than that. It'd be about 14,000 cars a month.
And of all those, I mean, how should people? I mean, of all people are saying stuff. I mean, you've got to have a bad customer that says something bad on the internet.
Sure. Well, I've had, me in the public eye, I've had my share of negative stuff written about me on the internet. Every time I fire an employee, that's a potential. It's an easy target. But you have to remember now the consumer has wised up to that. You can go to any business out there and look at complaints. I don't care what. You can look up a church and go, Methodist church complaints, you're probably going to find a whole host of them. I don't care what business you're in. So that the internet has lost credibility because it's a place where extremists can go and say things that are extreme. If you read a complaint on the internet, a lot of times it's just almost venom versus a real logical complaint. And people have sorted out that. So I don't spend a lot of time on it. I don't try to correct them. If somebody sends a complaint out there, I used to think it was worthwhile to respond to that complaint. It's really not. What you're going to end up with is some goober out in Nebraska somewhere that's sitting in his underwear at home just chasing those things down. He'll be the one that responds to your complaint. You'll just, if somebody out there sees that you care about that, you can write a book back and forth on something that's it wasn't even their complaint, had nothing to do with them. So I would focus my attention on the things you can control. And that's the thing. Remember that when you read a complaint on the internet, always go back and go, okay, what's the perception? I had one complaint on the internet in the last year, and I've had 14,000 customers walk through my door. That may be an isolated deal, or that guy may be a nut. There's nothing you can do about that.
Well, good. And what I'll encourage you guys to do here, we've got about 5 minutes left in the webinar. If you guys have some questions, want to talk about some other topics, we have a few more minutes here. You can email Ryan or put your hand up. But the summary you also see on the page, it just kind of covers the topics that we went over. Customer feedback. Is this an isolated incident or is it reoccurring? Diagnose, that complaint. Really get to the bottom of it. Don't jump to conclusions on it. Staff feedback. Be careful when you're running your business. You are the chief cook and bottle washer there. It's not a democracy. You set the agenda for the company. So you got to be very careful to not let your employees take care or guide you in labor and parts markup and how fast you're supposed to be servicing customers. That's really critical. Fear, which is the biggest one. Fear is the one that talks about you adjusting your hours or making adjustments that you know that if you did, it would impact your business in a positive way. But you choose not to because you're just fearful of what might happen if you do it. You got to just push yourself a little bit, guys. You got to let yourself get pushed a little bit and and that's how you take your business to the next level. And then the last part before we get to a question is, perceptions in the community. You should be really focused on how you're running your business. You should be less worried about your competition. I mean, your reputation, as long as you are a good, fair, honest business that's charging fair prices, you back up your work, you should focus on that. Don't let the economy, don't let things distract you on how and why your success. I mean, there are news reports after news reports after news reports about things that are not going well in this economy. Don't let that drag you down. Don't let that be any excuse for you. And so to wrap this up real quick, we have another couple quick questions, and then we're going to wrap it up for the day. This question talks about tracking customer satisfaction, feedback and such. Greg, talk a little bit about how you used to track customer satisfaction and how that's changed.
Well, we did for years. We did comment cards. We had a company that actually called all the customers. We did 3-day callbacks. We have gone away from all of that except for the 3-day callbacks because what we were finding is that the customers that wanted to get a hold of us, as long as we had our number that was easy to get a hold of, an 800 number where they could call in, those same customers we already talked to by the time they got the comment card. Now that was much different in the 90s where I thought it was more beneficial. So that's just a lot of extra work. And for what? It's really not, again, it's not the same as it was back in the 80s and 90s, even the early 2000s. With the internet now, with websites available, if you make sure it's clear, however you want to, whether it's on your wall or it's on your invoice, that if you have a complaint or an issue, to please email me personally, they're going to get a hold of you. Now, if you're still doing that, it's not hurting you, but it's really not, it's probably a waste of money. If it wasn't, I'd be doing it.
Well, that's a great question, and we'll end on that one. Greg, I'd like to thank you for being here today.
Oh, it's fun.
For those of you who might be here for the first time, again, we do these typically on the last Wednesday of every month. We did this one a week early, but in August, last Wednesday of the month, we'll have that another webinar. Look for an invitation to be sent out via email. All of these webinars that we do now are recorded, and so you can now go onto the Learning Center. It usually takes us a couple, 2-3 days to get it uploaded. But then you can go back and listen to it, and this particular one, we're actually videotaping it, so you get a little added bonus to see Greg and I on camera and talking a little bit about what we did today. So a reminder for some of you guys, if you've never attended the Mudstock event, that is registration is closing rapidly. If you already signed up, we've got several already signed up. We have a few spots left, but it is our once-a-year event where we really have information and you'll develop relationships that will impact your life and your business forever. And so I encourage you guys, if you're new, if you're members or non-members, go to the website, news and events section, go to Mudstock, listen to the testimonials. I guarantee you, if you're not happy, when you walk away at the end of the day, if you're not happy with that information, then we'll give you your money back. It is I'm that confident that it's that strong for you. And then those that have any interest at all in opening up stores or expanding their current stores, I encourage you to look at the growth and strategy class that we're doing. I'm not sure if we will do this class again. We're going to be taping it on the pretenses that we might not. It is by far probably one of the most popular classes that we do, and that's been done with Greg, and he is sought after a lot around the country for advice on how to buy and sell and make money, and people that are getting out of the industry. How do I sell my company, make it have value? It is the best insurance policy you can absolutely have. And so I would highly encourage you guys, if you have any interest at all, it is well worth the money. And again, if you're not satisfied, we will give it right back to you. It's that good. Again, thank you very much for attending the webinar today. I appreciate you guys. We appreciate the opportunity to earn your business. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, future topics you want us to talk about, please shoot us an email. You can reach ryan@mudlickmail.com. And we thank you again for your time. Have a great day and have a wonderful, safe weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.